Hi, I'm Glen. This is Nate. We're from Speak Life, and we like to see all things through the lens of Jesus. We're in the midst of a Christmas giving appeal. We'll let you know more about how you can support Speak Life as this video goes on. But we have always been trying to get good gospel material out there so that you can use it and share it with your friends. We are your partners in shareable faith, and we're just going back through some of the videos that we've produced over the Christmases of the last few years. We've counted down to number 11. So we're up to video number 11.
That's right. What is that? And Christmas 20... Was this another 2019 video?
Yeah, 2019 was a bumper crop.
There was so much going on. And it's called There's a Dragon in My Nativity. Let's take a look.
Alex Webb-Peplow doing the animation here. He's worked with us.
Of the parish of Faith and Kids, I believe.
Faith and Kids. And he's done Cannonball for us in the past and Love Story. And he was helping us with that and animating it. And the whole idea is basically it's Revelation chapter 12, in which you've got, a dragon that is far bigger than everything, that is swallowing whole realms and nations. And what is going to stop the dragon? The birth of a child. I think it's fascinating in Revelation. Who's going to win between a baby and a dragon? Turns out the dragon never had a chance.
He didn't. I think what I love about this video is just the way in which we are prepared for the arrival of the dragon, with sort of shadows looming over people. There's these wonderful moments where everyone's kind of looking nervously.
You don't want to see the monster too early, do you?
You don't. You've got to, progressively reveal this thing and just show its impact. And then it's full. Yeah. And there he is. You see some of his talons.
You see some of him. Yeah. And that's the idea. Like, what if there is a dragon in the Nativity and people think, oh, that would be far too monstrous for your Nativity? And you're like, well, actually, have you read the first Nativity? Herod is a monstrous beast who is trying to devour every baby in Bethlehem. Jesus was born in that kind of midst.
Here comes a hero who can deal with the dragon.
Yeah, the child is a knight. And it's really, trying to bring out the beauty of Jesus coming in spite of the fight, or because of the fight. He knew he was engaging. And there's something about, there would be something incredibly condescending about Jesus coming to be born as Caesar. That would be incredible condescension, to come and be born as an emperor. To come and be born into poverty, that is awe-inspiring condescension. But to come to take on the forces of death and hell, and to take on a dragon single-handedly, like there's bravery, in Christmas.
And it's interesting because the idea of a dragon is kind of very popular within sort of children's literature at the moment, and so the symbol of the dragon has largely been reinterpreted. So you think of the book series by Cressida Cowell, which became the trilogy of films, How to Train Your Dragon. And in lots of ways we're trying to kind of undermine these traditional symbols of evil, and yet biblically there is one who is out to get us, and who is depicted for us in Scripture as the great serpent, the great dragon.
Right. This is how to destroy your dragon, and hooray for that. Yeah. Yeah, and so I thought the narrator did a fantastic job. He's like 7-year-old boy, kind of nailed the narration of it. And really, really happy with how this one turned out. At Speak Life, we believe what you love, you share. And we've been your partners in shareable faith for many years now. We want people to be able to share their faith without delay, without shame, and without cost. But doing that is not cheap. In fact, It costs us, for instance, £6.83 per day just to host 321 on our learning platform. Plus, we have 9 staff and only 160 regular donors so far. We want to get to 260 donors by the 15th of December. Is that something that you could help with? If you come in between the 1st and the 15th of December, you'll get this book, The Gift, a Christmas book that I wrote a few years ago, for free as our gift to you. You'll also be able to come in on the Members Lounge, where we have a lively chat community and plenty of bonus content. And you'll have your gift to us matched by some generous match donors. There's never been a better time for you to support Speak Life. If that's something you've ever thought about, today is the day. Go to speaklife.org.uk/appeal and become one of the 100. Now, back to the conversation.
And we're now going to move on to day 12. On Earth as in heaven.
So number 12 came out in 2018, and it was the 50th anniversary of, was it Apollo 8?
It was.
And you, though you were in the States, you very much helped Speak Life to kind of do a documentary. We did a sort of a mini documentary, about 15 minutes, talking to a couple of NASA mathematicians. And
that's right.
Yeah.
We had fellow Westminster student of mine, David W. Hills, you can see there, Lieutenant Colonel, or Lieutenant Colonel, as he would say.
Okay.
He was talking about his memories of several space missions as when he was a child. He wasn't on them; he was just watching on television. But and great. This actually came from a Christmas talk that I gave in I think it was about 2011. And I'd been thinking about ways of wondering about God having come to Earth. And a lady I was working with was an international student worker named Frances Lewis. And she said, I have a signed photograph from Jim Collins, who was a NASA astronaut on the Apollo 8 mission. No, he wasn't on Apollo 8. He was on a
15 or something.
Apollo 15,
13,
I think. Yeah. And he he'd signed his name, and he'd said, it is more important that God walked on Earth than man walked on the moon. And so just that as a wonderful entry point into the completely different perspectives that we're supposed to have. So largely human scientific discovery and exploration has been about us making our way up into the heavens. Yeah. And so, as Neil Armstrong
dangerous
says,
for them to do it.
Yeah, because he says, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. So this is an action which now has kind of universal human significance, because now one of us has been up there on the moon.
Has been on the moon.
And yet, as Jim Collins wrote, it's more significant that God walked on Earth and man walked on the moon. So it's not a case of us building our way up in our super space rockets to get up to the heavens.
Yes.
It's actually about God condescending to join us here on Earth. And so that was what we explored.
And we pressed into some of the sacrifice that it took for all this space exploration to happen. And, the death toll is quite impressive when you look at both the Russians and the Americans. We've lost a lot of crew in the attempts to just put a man on the moon, just for us to reach up into the heavens. And by the same token, there's the reaching down of God, which, again, is a dangerous mission, and yet one that he embraced out of love. The soundtrack, again, is by Josh Lucas, and just brilliant. I mean, just listen to the launch music. All this NASA footage. So good, isn't it?
It is so good.
The radio crackle alone.
15, 14, 13.
Hold on.
12,
He's going to say the name of our new course in a minute.
10, 9. We have ignition sequence start. The engines are on. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
But listen to the horns.
We have liftoff. Liftoff at 7:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
You didn't think they'd have a horn on a space rocket, did you?
Christmas 1968.
And it's Barry Cooper
The Apollo 8 mission was launched.
doing the voiceover.
Oh, Apollo 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
9 years old.
We love doing this.
This
We should
was,
do more
I think this
documentaries.
was, we should have,
Yeah.
Actually,
More documentaries.
It's funny when you go back and look at other things you've been a part of, isn't it? You get
Yeah.
excited
Clear
about
night.
them.
That's great.
Great.
More of this. So that was, what was that, number 12?
Now, just one question.
Go on.
Where did we come up with this this title, On Earth as in Heaven?
I believe that was a Barry Cooper suggestion. Do you remember?
Right.
I think it was on a WhatsApp chat. I think Barry might have.
Jesus might have said it.
Okay.
I mean, by all means, give Barry Cooper credit, but I think it's
Sure.
it's borrowed material.
Yes,
It's,
Matthew 6, from the Lord's Prayer, on earth as it is in heaven. But yeah, just I mean, that is interesting, isn't it? About how even with our theology, we do what we do with space exploration, which is we think it's about us ascending. And we think about that theologically as well, don't we? That it's about, good Christians getting better. And Jesus, says it's not so much about your journey to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Heaven's coming to earth. It's the uranification of the earth. Uranos, Greek for heaven.
That's
the heavenization of the earth. But we should do more documentaries.
We definitely should, because remarkably, we did a longer version of this and a shorter version.
Yeah. We
And
did
the
a
longer
90
version
second, and the longer version did better.
Did way more views, because people are like, this is interesting, I want to see it more.
Yeah.
So that was great. Let's move on now to day 13, or the 13th video we're looking at, which is Christmas in Dark Places.
Used to be summer when Christmas came round. Beneath tall southern skies over sun-scorched ground, with the backyard cricket and the barbies, the beach. Munching on mangoes to watch the Queen's speech. The slatherings of sunscreen, the glorious glare, and toasting the sunshine in the warm evening air.
I take as a jumping off point the difference between an Australian Christmas and a UK Christmas. And in Australia, we don't sing in the bleak midwinter, funnily enough. And it's not about huddling together against the elements and having a cozy time. It's enjoying your sunny circumstances in Australia. And I wrestled for a while, because I would always sort of gloat about Australian Christmases, because you get to the barbecues on the beach and you get to play backyard cricket and go for a swim. What could be better than that? But I have come to see the wisdom of winter Christmases, where in spite of the darkness, you still find a reason to hope in the middle of it all. So, and I think that's just a message that we all need to hear when we feel the pressure of it being the most wonderful time of the year, and yet it can feel anything but. Sam Kwan was the videographer here. We've done a lot of videos with Sam. He was behind the Halloween video, for instance, and Santa versus Jesus, and loads of them.
And just that thinking about, some of the readings we have at Christmas. So, the people walking in darkness have seen a great light. So, yes, in lots of ways, Christmas is kind of really designed to be a winter sort of time.
Reluctantly, I have to agree. Yeah, from Isaiah 9, and then Luke 1, the shepherds are on the, shepherds watch their flocks by night, and then John chapter 1, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not understood it. It's absolutely about another worldly light dawning in the midst of your dark times. So, it's a message that I think has resonated. We've done a number of different versions of this, and quite often the statistics that we sort of show at the beginning about 500,000 Brits will not see this Christmas because they've died this year, and we've changed up the statistics because you can always find things to be depressed about at Christmas if you're looking. But it's not that we ignore the darkness and try to celebrate as a kind of an anesthetic to that. It's that we see the darkness, we face the darkness, and we know that there is a light that is stronger. Yeah.
And you were also invited to present it as part of the Gospel Coalition Advent Concert. Back in 2020.
2020, lockdown, so everyone's doing lockdown church and all that kind of stuff. That was the one that they chose for me to do, and you can understand why. Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. And particularly worth saying at this point, it may be that this Christmas is a particularly difficult time for you. Maybe you have lost loved ones. Maybe you're going through an especially dark period in your life. And we just want to say, Christmas is for you. So don't be concerned that you're not celebrating in the way that you might feel like you're encouraged to do by so much of what goes on at Christmas, but to recognize that the light of Christ in many ways shines brightest in the darkness. And so receive that light this Christmas.
So is that number 13?
That's right. 2 more to go.
Number 14. Now, I pronounce this differently every time I say it.
Me too.
Is this one called the Christ Mouse because you're playing on Christmas? Or is it the Christ Mouse because you're bringing out the mouse as the Christ figure? Which is it?
It's both. It really is both. And it is a little story of an elderly widow who loses her wedding ring.
Yeah.
And then discovers that she has a mouse problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so goes to great
There's the
lengths
droppings.
to try to deal with this mouse problem using an old-fashioned trap.
I love that pull focus on the portrait behind her.
Yeah.
Her
This is
beloved.
my favourite shot. Was this panning, lateral panning shot. Unmotivated camera moves, Glenn. That's what it's all about. If you can move the camera to an empty space, it just helps to
look.
show the
That's where
the
her husband
loneliness.
should have been.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Passage of time.
down she comes to investigate this mouse trap. Cheese is gone, but the mouse is nowhere to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
She sets another one. Night follows day, and the morning arrives, and down she comes. Same problem as she had before.
Mm-hmm.
Repeat, montage, repeat, until eventually this woman realizes you've got a mouse problem. You want to solve it. You're going to need to do something drastic.
This woman goes ballistic. Look
So
at this.
here she comes.
Oh my goodness.
With, I think we still have half of these mouse traps.
They'd come in handy because
We
we do
did.
have a mouse problem.
Yes, please do send us money.
And that cackle,
a little
that
giggle
cackle.
as she set all the traps and she goes off to bed on Christmas
Yeah,
Eve.
surely.
And down she shuffles. In
That's
fact,
actually
these.
Sarah Final, isn't it?
That's right. These
Yeah.
are the feet of one of our
Thank you, Sarah.
our interns from the 2021-2022 intake. And down she comes.
What's that in the middle there?
In the middle is
Huh?
a tiny little
What?
card which says, "Thanks for the cheese. Happy Christmas, mouse."
Sucker!
And here we find a
But-
beautiful box. That was made by Katie Patterson,
yeah.
who was another one of our interns from that year, who's a wonderful illustrator and designer. And so she made us this little box.
And even the wrapping paper was like Christmas specific,
Mouse
bespoke.
themed, yeah.
for
And
this.
there is
Oh, it's the ring.
the ring. Incredible.
You finished with a wedding.
Gotta finish with a wedding.
And a
here we are.
feast.
Now, this is the hardest shot, I think, in my entire filmmaking career, Glenn.
Yeah.
Which is to
was
move
there.
from this lovely elderly lady having a cup of tea and then moving, following the hand to reveal
So, pull focus, pull focus, pull focus.
a
There
real
he
life
is.
mouse.
Oh, and then
We pull up to see.
okay, and we have hence identified the Christ mouse with the Christ mouse.
That's right. The Christ mouse, the Christ mouse, Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
How did you come up with the idea?
well, there were two things. One was putting together the anticipation you feel on Christmas morning to come down the stairs and what is going to be under the tree. Has he been? Right?
Has he been?
That's the
Yeah.
question. Has
Yeah.
Santa Claus been? Have the gifts been kind of put under the tree? And matching that with the anticipation of having set a mousetrap to think, did it work? Has he been? Which one's been? Who are you going to meet with? And so just trying to put that kind of sense of anticipation and hope or fear that kind of is building together and to say that our fears, the hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight, which is the coming Saviour, who is the Christ. So putting those two things together. And for a while it was called Die Christmaus,
Or Die Christ mouse.
because we thought we should set it in Germany.
Yep.
Because Die obviously is
You got to commit to your puns.
it's German for thee. which is taken from Simpsons episodes, in which Sideshow Bob has a tattoo that says "Die Bart Die," and so on
Sideshow Bob
revealing
says,
this tattoo, they say, "What does that say?" It's German for "the Bart the." And what does I can't remember which character says it, but she says, "A man who speaks German can't be evil." So there's little jokes in there for everything. Mary Sheen played Doris.
Did brilliantly.
Yeah.
And we actually collaborated with, what was the charity's name?
Linking Lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
All about, putting people together who might be alone or isolated.
Yep.
And
So trying to help with a befriending network to help those who are isolated or suffering from loneliness. We reached out to the local branch of Linking Lives and had an opportunity to kind of profile their work and to work alongside them.
Very good.
Christmas 2021.
There you go. So that was number 14, and then drum roll for the last of the 15 videos. I forget what it was.
It was The Night Before Christmas.
Night Before Christmas.
When some of us went to Rome. Because, yes, due to COVID restrictions that Christmas, I had to stay home because I would have had to quarantine, and it would have put another Christmas ministry in jeopardy. But you went with Pete Dundas,
yes,
our wonderful videographer
Yeah.
And intern, and created The Night Before Christmas.
we had a terrible time, Nate. You wouldn't have enjoyed
The
it.
weather looked pretty awful.
We were drowned
I'll be
rats,
honest,
but it was pretty awesome being in Rome, gotta say. And so, we went to the Colosseum, and I got to say, "Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?" Which made the trip worth it for me.
Yeah.
And just talking about the darkness, the night that was before Christmas. The Roman Empire was a pretty brutal place. The place where Jesus showed up vulnerably in order to save us. And just a compare and contrast of, the origin stories of Rome is it was born of murder and rape and war. The story of Christmas is just the peacemaker, the Prince of Peace comes, and it's the very opposite of violence, sexual or otherwise, in the Christmas story, the utter overturning of that whole way of thinking, that whole dominance hierarchy, the violence and the selfishness. And Christmas, I think, can be shown to be, all the more beautiful when you just contrast it with the way of all flesh. And so certainly looking at the brutalities of Rome helps you to do that. I took that picture of the cross on my phone, and what's fascinating is even though I'd been writing The Air We Breathe, and a lot of this ends up, one of the chapters of The Air We Breathe, the book that came out in 2022, is called The Night Before Christmas. And even though I was looking into all this stuff, I still see a cross in the middle of the Colosseum, and don't you think to yourself, oh, they put a religious symbol at the heart of the Colosseum? Isn't that weird? Maybe the Roman Catholic Church threw its weight around and insisted that they put a spiritual symbol in the midst of the Colosseum. And you're like, oh, what are you idiot? That's not a spiritual symbol. That's not a religious sign of hope in the darkness. That's an implement of torture. That's a method of execution. That is excruciating, and it belongs in the Colosseum. It actually, by rights, it doesn't belong on top of St. Peter's. It belongs here in the Colosseum. It was part of the entertainment of Rome, the sort of the halftime entertainment. It was a slow death, not one of the more glamorous deaths, but for a bloodthirsty people, it did the trick. We went to the Palatine Hill, which is where Caesar's sort of palace was, and it actually contains the earliest depiction of crucifixion. And it's a graffiti, and it's mockery of Christians, because it's basically got Christ on the cross, but he's got the head of a donkey. And the caption, and there's a worshipper sort of raising his hand in veneration, and the caption just says, Alexamenos worships his god. And it's just dripping with sardonic kind of spite, really. Like, what an idiot Alexamenos is to worship a donkey of a god. And that is how the message of Christmas and Christ coming is received by your average Roman. It's just like, he's just coming in weakness. He's destined for the cross. And yet, isn't it beautiful to think that this is what Jesus volunteers for?
Yeah, that great reversal, the symbol of torture, the symbol of kind of universal kind of shame and humiliation, becomes the cross that raises us, that is our life, that, we preach Christ crucified.
Yeah.
And you can't really have a crucified Christ unless you've got an incarnate Christ, and so celebrating his birth at Christmas is so essential. So there we are, 15 different Speak Life Christmas videos. I think we're going to keep making them, aren't we?
I love making them, so why not? Why wouldn't we? And I hope you'll keep sharing them. There is one that's out this year. Have you seen it? It's called The Christmas Countdown, and it's an enchanting little magical float in a 3D animated church, and a poem, a beautiful soundtrack by Josh Lucas again. And why don't you watch it and give it a share? We'd love to get that seen far and wide. But that's the sort of thing we do all year round. We are not just for Christmas, we are for life. We are Speak Life. And we need your help to be able to do more of this kind of things. We are your partner in shareable faith, and we really want to get to 260 regular donors. And that's where you guys come in. Could you be one of the 100 that we're looking for in December? If you give to us by December the 15th, we have some very generous match donors who will come in and they will multiply your generosity and double it. So what a brilliant investment in gospel work. If you've been thinking at all that you like Speak Life and maybe you'd be minded to give towards us, now is the time. And you can go to speaklife.org.uk/appeal and find ways of giving to us there. But Nate Morgan, Locke, thank you so much.
Glen Scrivener, thank you.
And thank you.